What's going on, guys? Today we are going to talk about the G.R.E.A.T.S and what the G.R.E.A.T.S are and how they are going to affect our class for much of the school year that we're going to talk about. So first off, let's go ahead and let's jump into what are the G.R.E.A.T.S. The G.R.E.A.T.S are basically the aspects that kind of make up a civilization. We break them down into government, religion, economics, arts, technology, and social structure. And we're going to go into each one of them with a little bit of detail, and then I have a brief assignment for you guys to work on once we get done with that. The first of the G.R.E.A.T.S is government, and government is basically the ruling body of a civilization, country, city, so on and so forth. I mean, basically they're the ones that establish the laws, they rule the people, and they do some different things for the good of the community. So they're the ones that are the rulers, the leaders, whether they be elected, kings, queens, whatever. As we get through different types of governments throughout the year, all civilizations have some form of government in some way, shape, or form or the other. The next is religion, and religion is basically the faith of a community, what they believe in terms of their spiritual faith and so on. Early on when we talk about religion, we're really going to focus in on the fact that religion was kind of there to use to be explaining the things that they really couldn't explain. We're going to get a lot of detail with that as we talk about Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, ancient China, and their many gods and goddesses and how they had so many and why they had so many. So we'll get into a little more detail about that, as well as when we get our religions unit starting in the second half of the first semester. The next one we have is economics. Economics is basically how a civilization earns money, what types of money they use, how do they trade, basically how they function on a physical level in terms of supporting themselves with different funds and so on and so forth. And like I said, we're going to talk about this more along the lines when we get in the second semester and we look at standard of living and how it's going to affect imperialism in the world and stuff like that. So we're going to get a little bit closer, a little more in depth in that as we work our way throughout the year. Next is the arts, and the arts is really important because it kind of gives a lot of basis to different cultures, you know, what they drew, what they created, whether it be through architecture, painting, sculpting, and it kind of really leaves its mark on the world. And basically the arts kind of gives us an in-depth look at the culture of a particular region because of what they did in terms of those types of things. And we will talk about this over and over again as we work our way throughout the year. Next we have technology, and technology is basically the advancements that all of these civilizations make to make their lives easier. I know oftentimes you think of technology, you think of the next computers, cell phones, so on and so forth. But back then, in the times that we're talking about, advances in technology would be things like writing, the wheel, how to farm, those different types of things. And with these advancements that they make, it basically makes their lives easier, and in the long run, helps them to grow as a civilization and develop into a more productive civilization. The last part of the G.R.E.A.T.S is the social structure, and that's basically the hierarchy of any given society. Who's at the top? Who's at the bottom? Who makes up the middle class? What reasoning behind that? Each civilization we're going to talk about has their different rationale as to why they put people in certain levels of society, and we're going to get into that as we talk about each one of these different civilizations. With that said, that kind of covers the basics of the G.R.E.A.T.S. Now I want you guys to kind of dive in a little bit deeper with the G.R.E.A.T.S chart activity. You got 3 things I want you guys to do on there. I want you guys to give me a definition of each one of those things. So you need to look that up online and find a specific definition for each one of the G.R.E.A.T.S words. Then I want you guys to draw a picture that will help you guys remember that definition. It doesn't have to be anything exactly like it. You don't have to draw anything specifically, just some way to help you guys remember what that definition is. You may use stick figures on any sort of definition drawing type thing that we do. Other assignments, not so much. We'll get into more details as we get to those different assignments. And then lastly, I want you guys to give me an example. Like for government, you guys can use the United States of America's government, the president, something along those lines to give me an idea, an example that you understand what you're talking about. Other than that, that's all I have, and I will talk to you all soon.